testing is a thankless job. It is. Testers are usually, most often, they're bogged down with a lot of work. The amount of scope they have to cover is too much. They're understaffed and they have limited time. It's always a race against time. Developers also are under stress. Generally, software development is a stressful work. It is stressful, but with testers especially, they are most likely going to be understaffed, and they have a lot of work to do. And because of this dilemma, then testers try to limit their liability by saying, look, we can't test everything, and if anything goes wrong, then we go back naturally and ask the testers, okay, why wasn't this caught during testing, right? And everything cannot be tested and everything cannot be caught in testing. But then, to avoid that difficult conversation, then we try and build test plans. And in a test plan, we say, all right, this is the amount of work, this is what we're going to test, everyone agrees, this is what we're testing, and anything beyond this, if it comes along, then that wasn't necessarily part of what we were supposed to do, and we accept that as a risk. And that's generally, in some cases, how test plans work. And as we move along and as this drift increases, what happens, these test plans turn into disclaimer documents, the way I call it, right? So you say, this is the amount of scope, this is what we are testing, given the time and resources. Anything beyond this, we are not liable. It's more like a limited liability company. We are liable for what we are doing. Anything beyond this, we are not liable for. Mr. Product Owner, please release at your own risk. Yeah, you release at your own risk. This is what we can do. And in time, I mean, not always, but it sometimes turns into a fine print of a legal document saying that this is what we are liable for. And I understand from the tester's perspective that, and it's because of this culture where anything goes wrong, you go and ask the testers, okay, why wasn't this caught? And so they have to do something to protect themselves, to take up all that liability, and limit what they really can do and what they can take responsibility for, right? And from their perspective, it makes sense. But eventually, if you look at the big picture, this whole thing turns into a very big negative cycle, and it isn't necessarily healthy for the team to move forward and take responsibility as a group. And that's this blame game of it's his fault, this team's fault, or their fault, or that fault. This doesn't really help with releasing products quickly and with quality. So how to fix this, right? Now, and that's why I say test plans or test strategy should be something which the whole team is using. It's not just for the testers. And we got to get rid of that test phase where we say, okay, this is where testing happens. Testing happens across everywhere. Every activity is either contributing positively to quality or it's contributing negatively to quality, right? But it is contributing regardless. So a test strategy is something which everyone across the team is contributing towards in some shape or form, and everyone as a group accepts that this is what we can do and this is what we cannot do. Make it inclusive of everyone, right? I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I have learned regarding this. The second one is, which is more of a culture thing, of course, probably which should come first. I think that should be the first point, is a culture moving away from this blame game culture. If something goes wrong, it's not necessarily tester's fault. If there's a bug in the field, that doesn't mean it's a tester's fault, right? It's a ways of working fault. It's as a group, this is how we have been functioning. We probably did not prioritize our time and our work properly so that the high risks were identified first. We should have spent more time on high risk things, and we should have built a lot of automated regression which would give us which would regress over our previous implemented functionality to make sure things are not broken. That's an complete, that's an overarching theme which the whole team contributes towards, not necessarily something which just the testers have to do. So a culture of taking responsibility as a team instead of blame gaming one another, and building a test strategy or a test plan which is more inclusive for the whole team, and everyone contributes to it and everyone actively works towards it instead of something just for the testers.